thank you so much for joining us tonight with our conversations with the Mountaineer Parents Club. I'm Lisa Hanselman, and I'm the director of the Mountaineer Parents Club here at West Virginia University. And we are so thrilled that all of you have chosen to join us tonight. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the evening. It will go through with me, of course, speaking first. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Mountaineer Parents Club. And then we have guests from the Office of Student Wellness, Student Engagement and Leadership, and Student Success. They will all be telling you about their units, and then we'll have time at the end for a Q&A. So we'll go ahead and start with the Mountaineer Parents Club. Again, as I said, I'm Lisa Hanselman, and I'm the director here, and I'm also the mom of 2 WVU students. So I do kind of know where all of you are going or where you've been in this whole process. The Mountaineer Parents Club has been here at WVU since 1995, when our then president, David Hardesty, came to WVU, and his wife realized that there was really nothing for parents and nothing where she could get all the information she needed for her own students. So she started the Mountaineer Parents Club, and here we are roughly 26 years later and still going strong. So the Mountaineer Parents Club is all about communication. What we do is constantly stay in touch with families. So we have an email that goes out twice a month. We have our website updated all the time. We have Facebook pages that we use. And we have an 800 number that's actually answered by our colleague, Katie Gallagher. If you would like to know more about our, or what we do and how we got started, please join our Mountaineer Parents Club. You can join on our site. Ricky, my colleague here, who I will let you all talk to later on as we go through, will be putting things up in the chat. So for our Parents Club website, you can look on that and you can just go to the join button, fill that form out, and you're just going to start getting emails from us. If you would like to reach us in any other way, we have lots of good information on our website, but all of our contact info is up there as well. And again, as you go through, and you don't exactly know who you want to talk to or who can help you, you can email the Parents Club, you can call that 800 number, and Katie will be happy to help you and answer that question for you. We also have a system where we work with clubs in local areas. So right now, we don't have as many parent volunteers as we'd like, but we do have clubs in a lot of different areas, and they start planning events. So we have Northern Virginia and some in New Jersey, some in Maryland, Ohio. And honestly, these are great resources. If any of you would like to know more, that's on our website. Or if you'd like to volunteer to run a Parents Club chapter in your area, just give us an email to the Parents Club. Again, that's in the chat. And we'd love to talk to you about that. So one of the other things that we do at the Parents Club is just make sure that you have all the information you need. So I mentioned those emails that we send out. When those go out twice a month, they are full of amazing information that Ricky has actually put together for us. They will have updates and deadlines and interesting things that your students can get involved in. So that way you are able to stay connected to your student and they will know what's happening on campus. And this is all information that your students already get. They're going to get this through email and lots of other ways. But honestly, we'd like to reach out directly to you. Your students are going to be very busy this semester. They're going to navigate their way around. They are studying, they are at the library, and they're making new friends. So to that, we'd rather reach out to you directly and get you all the information that you need. So when you read those emails, you can respond back. All of our contact information is on there. You can ask us questions. And hopefully our emails are actually giving you the information you need before you need it. Some families even share those emails with the students. But again, they have that info. They just need to check their emails for that. The other thing that we always like to mention is that it might be a bit confusing. It's a big university in some ways, but after about 2 weeks, it's a pretty small university and you can find your way around. But if you don't know, please ask us. We are happy to help. We might not know the answer directly, but we can find it and get it back to you as soon as possible. So for tonight, before we get into meeting everybody here, I do want to say that we will be taking questions that are relevant to our speakers. If you have other questions, you can always reach out to us directly at the Mountaineer Parents Club. And before we move on to our panelists, I would like to introduce Ricky Huffman. Ricky, do you want to tell us about you?
Hi, yeah, my name is Ricky Huffman, and I'm the marketing specialist for the Mountaineer Parents Club. So I oversee the newsletter and the social media, and I help Lisa with whatever she needs done. I'm a 3-time WVU graduate, so I definitely eat, breathe, sleep, WVU. And a little fun fact about me is I'm actually a house director for a sorority, Kappa Kappa Gamma, and I've been doing that now for, this is my 5th year. And so, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So welcome.
Thank you. So for this evening, the other thing that I just want to mention is that we are going to go through and have all of our panelists and take our Q&A. So as we get closer to the end, that's when you can really ask your questions. That's when we'll be able to go through the chat and get those all taken care of for you. So as you check it out and check out the Mountaineer Parents Club website, I think I forgot to say this, but it's free to join. So feel free to join. And if you have other family members who want to join, even though we're called the Parents Club, we are absolutely welcome to aunts, uncles, grandparents, and anybody else who wants to support our WVU students. Really appreciate anybody who wants to know more about our students and help them out in any way. So what we're going to start with tonight is the Office of Student Wellness. So we have Nathan and Courtney who can introduce themselves and tell you all about that unit.
Well, hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Nathan Harlan. I'm the Executive Director for the Office of Student Wellness. Courtney can introduce herself here in a second. We're excited to talk to you today about a couple of the well-being programs that WVU has in place. In particular, I wanted to, we'll address the 4 departments that make up our area, which is Well WVU, Collegiate Recovery, Campus Rec, and Adventure West Virginia. And I'm going to speak to you mostly about Campus Rec and Adventure, and Courtney will tell you about Well WVU and Collegiate Recovery. I did just want to say, we've now welcomed most of your students onto campus, and it is really very nice to see students walking around campus again after several months of a very strangely empty campus. But that being said, it's different, of course, and so as we talk about our services and units tonight, we're going to kind of tell you broadly about who we are and what we do, and then also more specifically about what we're doing this fall semester that's unique because of the pandemic. So that being said, and I guess, Ricky, if you don't mind, just go forward a couple slides there. I'll tell you, go ahead one more there. I'll tell you about kind of our broad approach to well-being. And so recently, WVU has adopted a model of well-being it's sort of holistic in nature. So if you'll bear with me as I describe this to you, when we talk about student wellness, and we'll use the term wellness and well-being interchangeably tonight, but the idea is not just simply things like, being physically healthy or not being sick, but it's about thriving as a person. And so that involves more than just those typical things you might think about. It does, of course, involve physical well-being. And so, we've got some great resources, even though the Campus Rec Center isn't open, I'll tell you about those. But it's also about building strong social connections with peers and upperclassmen and faculty and staff. It's also about feeling that you have the resources to make sure you're well financially. And so, although it's not part of our presentation tonight, of course, there's great resources on campus for financial well-being. It's about feeling that you have a good, strong community that you're actively part of, that you feel safe and secure in that community. And it's also about finding purpose. And I think that as Courtney talks to you later, and as you'll hear from some of the other presentations, especially with our colleagues with student engagement and leadership, it's really not enough for us just to have our students come here and leave with a degree. We want them to find their purpose here and launch into their life in that way. And so a lot of these experiences, while they're intended to help students feel connected and grounded here, they're also building a foundation for students to really feel their time here as purposeful. So that's a little bit about our model. Ricky, if you go ahead and forward another slide. I'm going to start talking about Adventure West Virginia. So Adventure is a program that typically is known for our first year trips or our trips that we take students on before the start of their freshman year. Largely that was unable to happen this year. And so instead what it looked like is we did our best to connect with those students virtually. And so we held throughout the month of July and in the first part of August, virtual first year trips, which maybe some of your students participated in. They actually turned out to be a really positive opportunity for students to connect with one another. But of course, for us, what we know we missed out on was introducing them to the wild places of West Virginia and to all these great adventure experiences. Fortunately for us, we have the opportunity to do that this fall. And so already maybe some of your students have participated in some biking programs, some paddling programs on the Monongahela River, mountain biking and hiking, a number of things that we're able to do local and close to campus. And so I'll tell you more in a moment about some of those opportunities. But broadly speaking, beyond the first year trips program, we also have a rental program where students can come in and get rental items to go on their own adventures locally or more regionally. And in a typical year, we have international trips, which I think for this whole academic year are largely on hold. But in the future, as we start those back up, we take students to New Zealand and Patagonia and the Fijian Islands. So a couple more things about Adventure West Virginia. If you don't mind switching slides again there, Ricky. We know that sometimes that we provide a really great guided experience for students. In other words, they can come on a trip with other students and get introduced to an activity. We'll teach them the technical skills. We'll show them the places. But after that, our hope is that for those who really find solace in the outdoors and an opportunity to connect, that they'll go on their own adventures. And so we have this great website, DIY Outdoors. It's on our Adventure West Virginia website as well. But you basically can sort through and find local areas to go fishing, hiking, climbing, biking, everything you can imagine. You can sort and you can view it on a map and you can find instructions and directions and how to get there. So DIY Outdoors is a great opportunity, especially if you have upperclassmen students and then they have their own car and they're looking to get out and adventure. But beyond the kind of around the state, there's a lot of local options. For example, we have the WVU Arboretum, which is a wonderful forested hillside just off the Evansdale campus, and the Fall and Run trails, which are just off the downtown campus. So outdoor adventures and just a chance to get into nature are right out the students' doors, regardless of where they live. Okay, so moving on, if you don't mind switching that slide, I want to talk to you a little bit about what Adventure has got in store for this fall. So we're just wrapping up tomorrow with our sort of welcome back programs. And so daily since last week, we've been offering a lot of activities that students can jump into. They can sign up in advance for a few of them, but a lot of them are drop-in. So that wraps up tomorrow and we get into what we call fall adventure activities. So these are largely all local group adventures. So students can sign up with friends or they can sign up and just join a group. The activities are no cost. Well, generally they're no cost this year. Typically there's a fee for some programs, but we've really waived those fees in a desire to get students out there and connected. And so the range of activities are everything from, painting watercolors in nature to mountain biking. So there's a variety of things that students can engage in. There's no previous experience expected. The equipment's generally provided. Where transportation is needed, it's generally provided unless otherwise noted. And even then, usually you can get there by bus or by the mountain line, which is the city bus system. So a lot of great opportunities for students to connect. One thing that I just wanted to also note with the fall adventure activities is what we typically do is the students who come on the freshman orientation programs or the first year trips programs take a 1-credit class. And as part of the fulfillment of that class, they get to choose an activity and complete it. Because that program is typically subsidized by the university, this time around, we're able to make those all cost-free for students. And in exchange, what we're actually looking for from students is an opportunity for them to come out to get familiar with the program. And I'll just mention this to you parents, we lead these trips with upperclassmen student leaders. And so we're always looking for next year's leaders. So if you think your student would make an excellent trip leader, and not because they have the outdoor skills, but because they have a desire to make a difference in other students' lives and welcome to the university, we'll take care of the technical training. So just keep that kind of in the back of your head as your student is looking for opportunities to get engaged. We tend to recruit leaders in the fall and train them in the spring and put them to work in the summer and then throughout the next school year as well. All right, so I want to, if you switch slides again there for me, Ricky, I want to talk about a unique collaboration between Adventure West Virginia and the Cruth Center for Counseling. So we have a colleague who works in a joint position with the outdoor program and the Cruth Center, and they do outdoor outreach programming through the Counseling Center. So we've done a bunch of this during this move-in timeframe, but this will continue on into the school year. And so what that program seeks to do is try to get students to be proactive in their mental health care. And so students who maybe have been managing their mental health care for a while, maybe they've been medicated for this or they've sought counseling in the past and aren't sure what they need as they enter college, can enter these workshops. And they're largely, they're non-clinical, so they're not a counseling setting, but they are intended to help give students the tools to manage their own mental well-being, to use things like nature and meditation and other mindfulness resources to manage their self-care. Sarah Milam is our colleague who runs these programs, and she's just one of the most welcoming and kind people, and has worked with Adventure for a number of years and is now a Caruth Center clinician. So those are available again at the website that's listed there. And they're really a fun option that we've created this year. As we move into the future, when we're less restricted by transportation, we look forward to making some of those trips more of a multi-day wilderness adventure, wilderness therapy. Okay, moving on to Campus Rec. I want to tell you a little bit about what we've got going on with Campus Recreation. So thanks, Ricky. So this is our Campus Rec Center, which is unfortunately at the moment not open, but we do look forward to opening that in the future, at which time we'll start back up with our typical programming. Typically what we do in the building and what we're trying to convert to doing outside right now is a lot of fitness programming. We also have a strong competitive sports program. Competitive sports are things like intramurals and club sports, all of which are going to look different this fall, but we're still kind of finding ways to help happen in ways that are safe. So, and then the final part of the Campus Rec that I wanted to mention is our Craft Center, which is going strong this year. Instead of inviting students to come down to the Craft Center studio, which is in the basement of Towers, we'll probably have some pretty limited hours there. And so we're bringing a lot of our Craft Center activities out onto campus this week. And then over the next couple weeks, your student can find our Craft Center staff teaching students how to tie-dye their own face mask. So we'll provide the face mask and the tie-dye and the instruction, and students can make their own custom face mask. And those are just a fun way for students to connect. We'll have a number of Craft Center activities that are also kind of a remote pick up your packet, go back to your room and tune in to kind of get the instruction to do the painting project or the craft project. So very much looking forward to those as well. So Ricky, if you want to change the slide over, I'll get into a little bit more detail about what Campus Rec looks like this fall. So right outside of the Campus Rec Center, we have a number of athletic fields, and that's going to be where most of our routine group fitness happens. So we know that it's a little bit safer these days to be outside. Those will be small group fitness activities. Students will wear their mask while they complete the activities, but they're generally a lot of the same activities we would complete inside. So for example, yoga and Pilates, some of our bar classes, some of our dance-based classes, a lot of really good fun fitness. This past week, we've been doing some what we call mashup or samplers. So our fitness instructors, both on Saturday and today, have been out inviting students just to participate in really short runs of these activities to let them kind of get a feel for what the different classes are that will be offered. Students will need to sign up for these in advance, and signups will be made available in the next week. We'll also have some pop-up fitness activities. So typically, what we know is that students have to come find us at the rec center. And one of the things that's happened this fall is because we don't have the rec center open, we've realized we can take our fitness classes to where people live. And because not all students live right by the rec center, that means we'll be doing some pop-up fitness activities in places like the Life Sciences Green, Woodburn Circle, and the Mountaineer Plaza. This will be in conjunction with a program called Wellbeing on Wheels, which Courtney might talk a little bit about. Fitness classes, which we've done since March. Students can do these from their rooms. Generally, they don't require any equipment to do, and they're fun, they're personal instruction, and so they're not a pre-recorded video. The craft classes, and we've got some really fun stuff in store for that. And finally, club sports, while we won't be competing intercollegiately, in other words, we won't be traveling to other colleges to compete, a lot of the club sports are a lot more, they're as much about community and a sense of belonging as they are about the actual competition. And so we're working on ways for those club sports to still safely practice their sports, to perhaps scrimmage where it's safe, and to generally engage in activities that kind of retain the spirit of the club while also remaining safe. So that's a little bit about campus recreation. So I'm going to turn it over to Courtney and let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about some of her other programs.
All right. Hey, all you parents and family members. My name is Courtney Weaver. I'm the director of WELL WVU. And so we are the Health Promotion and Education Office here on campus. And so what we do is we really want to help your student make decisions that are healthy, responsible, and successful. And so we focus our education in three main content areas, which is alcohol and other drugs, or we like to call it substance safety sometimes, sexual health, and then emotional and mental wellness. Sometimes we're better known for our stress management education. So we try to engage students where they live, work, and play. And though the pandemic has perhaps erected a few different barriers than in the past, we still plan to do this as much as possible. We like to use social marketing to reach students. We'll have campaigns that we post throughout campus, not just in the residence halls, but in sandwich boards, on the sidewalks, on the info stations around campus, and just in a lot of public places. Then we are doing pretty well, I think, on our social media. Instagram and Twitter are our most active ones, which you can follow at WellWVU. So I think we can move forward. Next slide. All right, so for the fall 2020, it is going to look a little bit different. So in previous years, we've been able to go into the classrooms with and give presentations in person. That will likely be changed to a virtual format just for everyone's safety, and many classes are already meeting virtually anyway. We're working on some new video series, our How To Tuesday videos, and then we are also doing Find Your Way Fridays, which is helpful for new students to maybe find their way to certain places on campus that they aren't familiar with. So find your way to student health services, or find your way to the balanced options in the cafeteria. We'll do smaller health promotion events. So for example, we're doing our first Wellbeing on Wheels on Wednesday, which is a breakfast on the go event, which will be a very quick interaction with students that will provide free breakfast for them as they go to catch the bus for class. We'll also be collaborating more with our campus partners, the Carew Center, Adventure West Virginia, Campus Recreation, Collegiate Recovery, and more. And then I also encourage you to tune into our podcast, Wellbeing Wednesdays. I only say that because I'm the host, but it's technically an Office of Student Wellness production, but we interview folks from all across campus. Nathan's been a guest. Tane is going to be a guest in a few short weeks. I'm going to get Lisa on it as well at some point, where we can talk about parents. But really, college is a great time of transition. Students are really exploring what their own values are, and we want to make sure that they are behaving in accordance and in line with those values. So you can, I think, move forward, please. All right, so a few quick sentences about our Collegiate Recovery program. So Collegiate Recovery supports students in recovery. They promote a healthy, balanced, and meaningful life here on campus. They do a lot of different great activities that are really centered around health, wellness, community, service, and fun. Now, the name might suggest that you have to be in recovery in order to take part in these services. That is not the case. Collegiate Recovery is a space that anyone can partake in and anyone can enjoy. One of the things that they do offer is a recovery ally training so that you can learn how to be a better ally to someone in recovery. And when we say recovery, we're not just saying recovery from a substance use like drugs or alcohol, but also for folks who are maybe overcoming a mental health issue like an eating disorder or a behavioral addiction. All right, and I think we can move forward. And so their program in the fall, Serenity Place is their physical location, which is on the downtown campus. They will have very limited opportunities for in-person hours at Serenity Place, but they've also done a Zoom Serenity Place, which has been very successful throughout the summer. You can actually find that information on their website, which I know Ricky's been posting everyone's websites in the chat. They're also going to continue doing virtual programming like their Mindful Mondays. They're actually doing a live stream cooking class this Wednesday night with the registered dietitian on campus, Cami Hott. They do movie nights. They do a program called Start Your Day Right. They're going to be involved also in Wellbeing on Wheels, which we'll talk about in a second. And then they'll also be doing some outdoor activities. So they'll still be able to do maybe some hiking or biking types of adventures. All right. All right. Well, Nathan, do you want to talk about Wellbeing on Wheels? It is your baby, technically.
Sure. And Courtney, you can add in as well. So as we were thinking about this fall and thinking about how we're going to connect with your students, and we in the past have held some really awesome and very fun events where we've invited students out in mass to take part of a giant event, you know, maybe Courtney has put on some great events called that are based around stress and sort of stress reduction, called Chill Fest. And they're just fun events. Tons of people come out. It's a lively scene, but that's precisely what we can't do this fall. And so what we sort of challenged ourselves with was thinking about how we can really bring that programming out to students, but in some of the same spirit of fun and engagement. And so somebody suggested that we should pass out ice cream out of an ice cream bicycle cart. And so naturally we took that seriously, and we've now purchased ice cream bicycle carts that will be pedaling around campus, engaging your students, not just handing out ice cream, but actually with a whole variety of well-being content activities. So Courtney, for example, mentioned the breakfast on the go. So you're a believer in breakfast, maybe you aren't, but what we know is that when students skip that meal, they tend to perform more poorly on tests. They tend to retain less information in their classes. So just a simple act of providing breakfast to students along with that message of, hey, don't short yourself, you know, eat your breakfast, and then giving them that handout is something that actively kind of helps jog their memory to think about a new well-being habit that they can take, but also is just a fun intersection with us. And, you know, who doesn't love a free handout of a good breakfast item? So that's one example. We've got a number of others, and actually some folks from Tane's office are participating with us. We've got some folks from the financial literacy program that'll be participating later in the semester. So just a lot of fun ways to engage. We've got a couple different formats this will happen in. The ice cream bicycle carts will literally be pedaling around campus many days, but we'll also sometimes be handing out supplies that students will be able to tune in later to kind of participate from their room. So I mentioned some of the craft center activities. That's one example. Our registered dietitian, Cami, and has worked with us, and we're going to create some healthy cooking meals that people can make in the microwave in their room, and some other kind of fun content and distribution of equipment and supplies that, again, help students get into some healthy habits and to be well wherever they are. So we're looking forward to that. That's something that's really launching in the next week and a half as we get out of the welcome kind of mode and into the fall semester programming. So tell your students to look out for Wellbeing on Wheels, and they can actually find the information for that in the refresh.wvu.edu website, which is a really great website that WVU created to help students connect with some of these fun and novel opportunities. So lastly, we want to talk to you about getting involved, and I'm going to speak just briefly about this for Campus Rec and Adventure, and then Courtney, maybe you can take that back over for the WVU side. But we need your students beyond, we want to connect with them. We want to provide resources for them. We want them to be healthy, but all of our programming relies on student leaders and student employees to make them happen. Not just because those students are the sort of like best part of our job to work with, to lead, to teach, but also, frankly, you know, we're not students, and we need their perspective. We need their insight. We need their creativity to make sure that the work we're doing is landing well with students. And so Campus Rec, Adventure West Virginia, they tend to recruit students and train them to be staff at the facilities, to be fitness instructors, to be support staff, to be trip leaders in the outdoors, to be facilitators. And so that information is, again, on those websites, Campus Rec and Adventure, there's a jobs tab for each of those websites. We tend to take applications on a rolling basis, but typically in October for Adventure, and usually earlier in the semester is the sort of priority consideration dates for hiring for those two organizations. And so maybe, Courtney, if you want to talk a little bit about WVU in that aspect, that would be great as well.
Sure. So there are a few ways for your student to get involved with WVU. The first is for them to join our Student Wellbeing Ambassador Team, or as we like to call them, SWAT. They're actually trained volunteer peer educators who help us facilitate a lot of our different types of programming that we do. They meet weekly, and students get those volunteer hours that are necessary actually for a lot of majors at WVU. We also have interns with both graduate and undergraduates. So if someone is studying, for example, public health, we do have those opportunities for them to get some experience with our office.
Okay, so thank you both very much. Next up with student engagement and leadership is Dr. Tane Lee.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Man, Nathan, Courtney, gave me a big act to follow, and but I'll do my best. And so, once again, my name is Dr. Tane Lee. So humbled to be able to serve as the Director of Student Engagement and Leadership here at WVU. And so I'm going to talk about my area. We're kind of divided up into 3 kind of functional units out of my shop. And so the first one is student involvement. And so we truly believe that, as kind of Nathan said earlier, is making sure that your students connected and feeling involved, and also finding purpose is really important to us. And so hopefully we can do that through our many student organizations here. And so believe it or not, we have over 500 plus student organizations that we help manage every day. And so they've been bombarding us with emails and correspondence to try to figure out how they can kind of connect with students this year. So that's really exciting to see that our student organizations are still trying to create that community and really connect with students all across campus. And so, you know, our student organizations run the gamut. You know, we have organizations around, you know, your major, your student's major, your religious affiliation, political affiliation, things of that nature. Anything you think about it, hopefully we have something around it. The great thing is, if we don't have an organization built around your interests, we encourage students to start that organization. You know, it's really important to kind of really take this 30,000 person community and kind of distill it down to about a manageable 10 to 15 people that they can kind of connect with around a certain interest or passion of theirs as well. And so when I say anything, I really mean anything. You know, we have, believe it or not, an organization that's centered around Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. And it's really, for those who love Cheddar Bay biscuits, they actually meet and enjoy Cheddar Bay biscuits while talking and connecting and building those relationships. And so I've asked to be their advisor multiple times to keep, you know, telling me no, but so I'm really excited to continue to see that organization kind of form and grow. And so it's really exciting. If you want to tell your student if they want to be able to search all 500 plus of our organizations, all they have to do is log on to our student organization management system, which is called WVU Engage. And so it's wvuengage.wvu.edu. Right there, you can see all of the organizations listed. It's a great platform that also allows you to connect with them immediately. Each organization has a connect button you just press, and it sends an email directly to them with a message from your student or whoever is trying to contact them. It's a really cool system. It also gives them an opportunity to kind of post student organizational events. And so if an organization is hosting anything, it will post there as well that your students can kind of search and find and see what's going on. And so during the school year, that platform is what we kind of point everybody to kind of, you know, type in whatever keywords that they're looking for. If like they like to dance or if they like technology, type in those keywords, you'll find all the organizations that are kind of centered around those keywords, so and interests. The great thing is we do offer, so our main office kind of doubles as a student org resource center. So we have, you know, computers and resources there that any student organization can come in and utilize. And so we recommend that that's a resource for all students to come in. You can print, you can use computer stations, whatever it may be. My apologies, I'm outside of my porch and we heard a motorcycle go by. So and then also my area in student involvement, we actually are in charge of some of our campus traditional events and programs. For example, homecoming court, homecoming parade, student lot, which is our tailgating lot for football games for our students, and also Toy Mountain. Unfortunately, some of those programs are on hold right now until we can kind of get a better understanding of what's going on. Homecoming was originally slated for September 26th. Unfortunately, that football game is no longer on the calendar, so we're looking to see if the university is going to reschedule, and we'll have more information on that in the near future. So if that happens, we'll look at, you know, hosting a homecoming court, and we'll see what the conditions of Mon County is to see if we can host a parade, but we'll have to evaluate that when we get closer. Also, something that comes out of student involvement is our Student Government Association. So that is an organization that we advise and provide support for. That is your advocacy arm or advocacy organization for all your students' concerns and needs. And so if they ever have any issues or things that they don't really like around campus, Student Government or SGA is a really good organization to kind of get in touch with. These students are well connected around the campus, and we're kind of strategically placed them to have those conversations with certain administrators and kind of provide some influence and guidance of that. And so we truly believe in the student voice so much that the student body president, who is the SGA president as well, sits on our board of governors and actually has a voting privilege for our WVU Board of Governors. And so it's really important to get involved in that. So next slide, please. The next slide is about our student leadership development. So we truly believe that all students can become leaders in their own right, just with the right training and the right mentorship. We believe that all students can be leaders on our campus. And so for our first year students, we have something called our First Year Leadership Academy that we're really proud of. This is our third year of its existence this year. And so we're welcoming in a class of about 75 students into our program this year. And so we're really excited about that. Typically, it's a 10-week cohort program that we take them through some experiential learning things. We take them out to the Outdoor Recreation Center that Nathan mentioned earlier. However, due to COVID, we've now condensed it down to three Saturdays. And so we're looking forward to that. If you need some information, you can definitely visit our website about that information with that and sign up your student. With that program comes our PALs. And so our PAL stands for Peer Advisor for Leadership. Just had to let that motorcycle roll by. And so our PALs are literally kind of what Courtney mentioned about her advocates, is that they're literally our peer mentors for leadership. And so they're involved with helping our students become better leaders and talking about their experiences. And so they're automatically attached to our First Year Leadership Academy. And they also help out with our Certified Student Leaders Program. It's a self-paced kind of competency-based programming for students. And so students can go to different workshops based around certain competencies and build and develop themselves. And at the end of it, will be granted or certified as a student leader on campus. We do offer a lot of workshops around different skills and competencies as well, called SOLD, which stands for Student Organization Leadership Development Workshops. And so we have those about 4 to 5 times a month throughout. And so we've had a bunch of those throughout the summer, and we're going to continue that throughout the fall semester as well. And the last thing that comes out of my office is we also operate the RAC, which is our WVU Student Food Pantry. And so we offer perishable and non-perishable items and food items. And so we truly believe that the last thing a student should worry about is their next meal. And so we want to make sure that we're helping out the best that we can. We actually offer a new program called Fresh Food Mondays. And so on Mondays between 11 a.m. to when we close, so we offer, fresh produce, fresh fruits and vegetables, and we promote that throughout, and we let students kind of vote and kind of see what they want, and they're able to come by our office and grab that anytime on Mondays. We're open typically from 8:15 to 4:45 in our Mountaineer location, which is in Mountaineer 143A. And we're open to all enrolled WV students that are on campus at the time. So I think that is the end of my spiel, and I appreciate your time, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have at the end.
All right, thank you very much. So next up, we're going to hear from Regan Bruni-Swan from the Office of Student Success.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Lisa. As Lisa mentioned, my name's Regan, and I'm the director for the Office of Student Success. And I know you've gotten a lot of information tonight on how to get involved, how to help your students get involved. So what I'd like to tell you about are services we have to help your students be more successful in the classroom. So we offer free, you heard me right, free academic support. We offer various services and programs for specific students, populations of students. So the services we provide are tutoring, success coaching, and academic workshops. The programming that we offer is designed for our first generation college student. And a first gen student is a student where neither parent has a 4-year college degree. We also offer programming for our first year pathways students. These are students who have been conditionally or provisionally admitted to WVU. RISE WVU is designed for our students that are Black, Latinx, and other diverse communities. And then our West Virginia Gear Up program is designed for students from specific counties in West Virginia. Typically, those are more of our southern counties. Next slide. Okay, thanks. So our success coaches work individually with students to enhance their academic skills. So they're not tutors, they're not content specialists, but they do help students be more successful in the classroom with time management skills, note-taking, test-taking strategies, those types of things. Our coaches can also help students in their transition to WVU, and really we help students throughout all 4 years. In fact, I've been getting requests from even some of our senior students today. We will be meeting with students online, so all of our appointments this semester will be virtual. And I'm very excited to announce that we've just purchased a new academic workshop series where we will have 50 on-demand workshops. That should be up and running in about 2 to 3 weeks. And so essentially those workshops kind of replicate what we would do in an individual success coaching appointment, but students can take them anytime. So while we might not have success coaches meeting at 1 a.m. in the morning, students, if they're up and want to do a workshop, they can. So to schedule an appointment for a success coach, you can go to our website. Once you're on our website, there is a form that you fill out. So you just have to go to studentsuccess.wvu.edu and then click on success coaching. And at the bottom of that screen is the little form you can fill out to request a success coach, or just call our office. And our number is 304-293-5804. If you want to take a picture too, please feel free to do so of that screen. Now, same with tutoring, we will be, or same as success coaching, tutoring will be offered virtual. Now with tutoring, we offer both drop-in and appointment-based services. So drop-in means that during our hours, which are typically evening hours, Sunday through Thursday, students can just drop in and get help by a tutor. So they'll come to our virtual check-in desk, and from there, they'll go to a meeting room with the tutor that covers their subject. So you don't have to make an appointment for drop-in. You just literally show up when we're open. Now, appointments, you do have to pre-schedule those. And those typically take place during daytime hours. And we do offer appointments on Saturdays and Sundays. So free tutoring is available every day of the week. Remember that, free tutoring every day of the week. So if your student is struggling, please, please, please encourage them to get help. There's help available. So we are launching a new website. Oh, could you go back? I'm sorry, Ricky. We are launching a new website there, tutoring.wvu.edu, and that will have all of the tutoring resources on campus. There are so many tutoring locations normally throughout campus, but we're all kind of collaborating and offering it virtually. So that we can provide kind of a one-stop shop for students to find tutoring resources. Okay, next slide. And then again, that's our contact information if you would like to schedule any appointments. So again, I know a lot of information tonight, but just know that there's free academic support should your students need it. Thank you.
Okay, so now it's time for our Q&A. You can feel free to put your questions into the chat and we will repeat them out to our panelists. If you have questions that are different and would not be appropriate for our panelists, again, you can send those to the Parents Club or you can check out that Return to Campus website. So as you all are putting them in the chat, we're gonna go through here and find ourselves some questions.
Can I just add, I saw one question. Tutoring is available for all students, not just those populations I've mentioned. So thank you for asking that question.
Perfect, that was our first question. So tutoring is available for everyone. Okay, so while we're waiting for a couple of questions, Nathan, could you tell us, is there a pharmacy on campus?
Great question. There's actually 2 pharmacies. And so the one that's probably easiest to access for most of our first year students is in the health education building, which is the building that's directly next to the campus rec center. It's in the bottom level, so it's easiest to access that from the exterior of the building down to the parking lot level. And it's a full service pharmacy, so you can call in prescriptions. If students visit student health, which is on the same floor right next door, they can have their prescriptions filled there. Students can have routine prescriptions, their maintenance meds filled there as well. And so it's just easy for pickup. The second location is out at the Health Science Center. So that would be very convenient if your student is taking classes out there in one of the medical professions.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a question here from Margaret. Will you be presenting all of this information to students too? Well, yes, we won't be presenting it because we are directly reaching out to our parents, but students have all of this information through emails, through other ways that they've reached out. If Nathan or Tane, if you want to jump in, and Regan, of how you've been reaching out to students, but students do have all of this information. It's a matter of them reading their emails, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I know that Tane can give you dates on this, but we actually just finished up today with a club sports kind of carnival or fair where students could learn about some of our sports clubs. I know Tane and his team have some student org fairs in the works. And a lot of the well-being opportunities are really just directed very much to students. So they'll see the cart around campus, they'll see the social marketing, especially if they follow WVU. And probably best, most easiest to find for us is going to be our outdoor fitness. It's on the fields right outside the Evansdale residential complex and the Lincoln Hall. So it'd be hard to miss all those people out there working out. So so hopefully they find that pretty readily. But if they have a specific question or they're looking for anything where you need to give them that little nudge, I think all of our units have pretty active presence on social media, so they could ask there, or they could obviously directly email us. And our contact information is pretty easy to find at those web addresses that we gave you.
Yeah, just to kind of follow up with what Nathan was saying, yeah, my team is feverishly trying to get all of our student engagement opportunities for student organizations. We do have our large campus-wide student org fair on September 1st. However, it's going to be virtual. And so we're going to be signing up groups there. And so students will have about a 3-hour window there to kind of log on and kind of meet a lot of our student organizations and leaders of that organizations. We will have something called Weeks of Involvement, where we're going to actually span across 2 weeks, where we're going to be asking student organizations to host interest sessions as well. So that will span 2 weeks, and we'll have a schedule kind of posted on our social media and our website for those that are interested in certain organizations to kind of meet them and attend an interest session virtually as well. We are looking to have some in-person ones as well, some smaller ones. Those are going to be probably towards the latter end of September. And we're going to try to do that as safely as possible and making sure that everybody that's in attendance feels very comfortable and safe while also learning and meeting other students. So yeah, so as far as the information, we've been sharing this information with students all summer. We participated in a lot of the new student orientation sessions. And so we were able to kind of connect with students that way and talk about all the things that we're talking about this evening. So, yeah.
Okay, so students can check their email, especially for the U-News that goes out every week. And they can also check the site, which is students.wvu.edu, which is full of information for students. So that they always know what's happening. All right, our next question. Is there a golf club or activities for beginning golfers? Nathan.
So yes, as a matter of fact, there is a golf club, and there's also a disc golf club, in case you were wondering. And those, so I think I saw a question on here too, and I'll mention this. So we're still kind of helping guide the clubs on what they will and won't be able to safely do in terms of getting together to practice. What we do know is there will not be any travel this fall, which is how the club sports teams typically compete. So intramurals is when you form a team of students and they compete against another team of students at your institution. Club sports is when you form a team and that team competes against another institution's team. So for obvious safety reasons, most of those club sports leagues have pretty much banned competition this fall. And so in particular, WVU has banned travel for this fall. So we won't be, for example, seeing the golf team go compete at tournaments, but of course they can and are free to go golf themselves. And as a club activity, I'm sure that they'll be doing that. For some of our more physical contact sports, we won't be seeing them do any in-person full contact practice. But for example, they could still do things that are no contact. They could do their physical workouts. They could do their skills sessions. So hopefully that provides a little context. I haven't spoken recently with the golf club themselves, so I don't know exactly what their plans are. But I know some of the clubs are a little further down the road in working out exactly what this fall looks like for them. And others, of course, have just come back together after the summer off.
Thank you. All right, next question, still Nathan. Nathan, tell us where those tennis courts are that students can use.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So if your student is standing at the student rec center, between the rec center and that health education building and towers, there's two big giant athletics fields. They're just for sports club and rec use. On the far end of those, there's a walking track that circles the whole area, and the tennis courts are at the far side of that complex. So they're right outside the windows of Towers and Lincoln Hall. They're pretty accessible. They're actually rather new courts. They're in great shape. We did just decommission some older courts that is now, we actually now have a giant tent in that area that's sort of overflow dining area and place for students to gather. So perhaps your student seen that some tennis courts are offline. Those tennis courts have actually been in bad shape for a while, so they're going to be replaced eventually, but we do have the great courts that were built just, I think, 5 years ago or so.
All right, thank you. Keep your mic on, Nathan. Can students get sports physicals from Student Health?
Yeah, so Student Health is a great resource. Think of it as a full doctor's office that's backed by a full level 1 trauma care hospital. So physically it's located on campus. I think I've described in the health education building. So right next to the rec center, right across the fields from Towers. But it's a lot like most of the services that you'd find in a walk-in urgent care clinic. If something is beyond the scope of what they can do, of course, they'll arrange for the student to go to the Ruby, which is the emergency room just a few blocks away. But for many things, especially like routine physicals, typically we see a lot of students doing their doctor's visits prior to their international travel if they're studying abroad. The student health services is a great resource for that, and the student does not need a car to get there. So it's really a great convenience for those kind of things.
Okay, and remind us again, Nathan, where everybody can find that information on outdoor activities that the rec is offering.
adventurewv.wvu.edu. And I think Ricky put that way up at the top of this scrolling feed, so maybe she could pop it in there. You're the best, Ricky, thanks. Also, a lot of that information for this week at least is also on that Refresh site because we kind of co-hosted the information. Probably once we get into the semester, some of that information will more live on that Adventure site. But it's a great landing place for a lot of those activities. And we do a lot of partner activities. So for example, if your student is in a living learning community, perhaps that living learning community will arrange for an outdoor trip through Adventure. I think the Honors Hall did a bicycle trip with us already in the last week or so. So a lot of good stuff that can be accessed there, but maybe also co-hosted with other things.
Okay, and all the activities that Nathan is talking about are available on both campuses. We will have activities downtown as well, correct, Nathan?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, and still back to you. Is there a ski club?
Let me check. There has been a ski club. Sometimes clubs come and go. Tane, you might know this one off the top of your head. There has been a competitive ski club in the past. There's also a cross-country ski club.
There's an alpine ski club.
Okay, great. I believe there's also a water ski club too. So we have quite a few.
Wow.
There's a snowboard club as well.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to go ahead and take because it is, assuming this fall goes well, will we know when the buses can be booked for winter break? In this case, the King of Prussia bus. So Hillary, those are run by the Mountaineer Parents Club and our local clubs. And we are still trying to work forward and have buses for the winter break. Right now, we are still working through what the protocols would be and how many students could be on a bus. So as we get closer, probably to mid to late September, we'll know a little bit more about those buses and we'll get that in an e-news and let you all know more about that. All right, let's see. Well, when will we know more about women's lacrosse in the spring?
Is that a reference to the club sports lacrosse?
I guess it would be a club sport.
Sure. So I'm going to say I don't think we have the information we need to be able to really understand what things will look like this spring. I think as you can see with a lot of the decisions that are being made right now, we're trying to give ourselves the most room to make the best decision. So I would look for decisions about spring club sport activity, probably later into the semester, perhaps November.
Okay, we have a couple of questions about athletics, specifically football. I saw women's soccer. So as of this point, football is attempting to move forward and to have a season. The first game will be coming up later in September, so we'll see. Right now, we're gonna move forward as though we're having football. So if anything is different, that announcement would come from the WV Athletic Department. Same with women's soccer and any other of those fall sports that are coming from the athletic department. We don't really have any more information at this point. So is there a fenced-in dog park where we can bring our dog to visit our student and his friends?
So I can actually answer this. There's actually 2 dog parks in Morgantown, neither of which is the athletic fields on Evansville campus, which seems to be a bit of a misnomer. So there's a wonderful dog park at Krebs Park, which is a city park. It's a short walk from the Evansdale residential complex. There's another dog park that's downtown, right off the rail trail, pretty close to a fairly short walk from our downtown residence halls as well. People do tend to, from time to time, bring their dogs to the athletic fields that are right across from towers, which is fine as long as you clean up after yourself. But please know that that is actually not a dog park.
I have seen a lot of animals there. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Tane. Will the dance team be performing and competing this spring? Do you know that one, Tane?
I'm going to give a similar answer to what Nathan just said. We don't have a lot of information about the spring semester just quite yet. As we get a little bit closer and we know how kind of the fall kind of pans out and how what the landscape will potentially look like in the spring, we'll be able to answer those kind of questions. But at this point, we're not quite sure yet.
Okay. From Melinda, will students have to move all of their things out of the residence halls in November? No. As long as your student's coming back for the spring semester and everything goes as we are all hoping it will, there'd be no reason to move everything out, although your student should take the things that they would need over that break. So medications, contacts, laptops, books, any of those things that your student would need, they should go ahead and take with them because the buildings would be closed and they couldn't get back in just to get whatever it is that they had forgotten. Other than that, it's their room until May. Fingers crossed. So Nathan, you're up. A little bit of a tougher one. Can you give us a little rundown of why the rec center is not open to working out and those sorts of gym activities this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, let me first say that I know for WVU that wasn't an easy decision. We looked at and built some plans as early as June around what it would look like to open up the rec center. And so the university's health committee, the group of doctors and risk managers who are kind of guiding a lot of the decisions, looked that over. And what we've found since is that a number of the outbreaks around West Virginia and generally have been associated in many cases with workout centers, with gyms and places that are indoors and sort of kind of a higher density and physically kind of like involve people working out and breathing at higher rates than you might breathe if you were sitting in a classroom. So that, coupled with emerging concerns around the lack of knowledge of exactly what it looks like for people who've had COVID or who are even asymptomatic. We're not sure what it does to them if they're working out in indoor spaces and working in their cardiovascular system in some abrupt ways. There's just, out of an abundance of caution, not enough information to feel good about opening the rec center. That doesn't mean that the rec center is necessarily closed for the entire fall semester. I think, like all things, that we're making those decisions as more information emerges. I think we can all probably agree that this first couple weeks is pretty critical to see how things go and how well students and faculty and staff are able to adapt to these new norms. But ultimately, I think what we can also say is that many of the services and programs that we would have offered inside the building are able to be safely replicated outside. Now, of course, this isn't everything. For example, we don't have an outdoor pool. We miss our aquatic offerings quite a bit. And we know that for those who are dedicated swimmers, it's pretty tough these days to find a place to get that workout in. And we also know that for many folks, the opportunity to lift weights in particular is something that they look forward to. One of the things that we're working on right now, and we think we'll be able to offer in the next couple of weeks, is some level of equipment available outside on the rec fields. So in other words, it won't just be group fitness, things like the Pilates classes and bar classes, but we may be able to provide certain equipment like some of the free weights or bags and things that let people do some of the solo workouts or strength-based workouts that they would like to do inside. And so we hope again that that'll help meet students where they're at as they're trying to adapt to normal as we are as well. So as a matter of fact, actually, I think on Friday we have a large shipping container arriving that's specifically built to be an equipment loan center that'll be located just on the edge of the fields by the rec center. So I hope that helps, and also please know that for a lot of us in campus rec, it's a bummer of a time when we typically get to welcome these students in and get them acquainted with this fantastic facility we run that we're currently not able to safely do that.
Thank you very much. Regan, can you explain a little bit about tutoring and how it works specifically, meaning so for a math or an English tutor for a specific class, or would certain tutors be for certain classes, and how that works?
So yeah, great question. For math, we typically offer most math courses. We offer, the lower level math up through Calc 4, which is like Math 256 or something like that. When we get into really upper division type classes, senior level classes, sometimes we don't have tutoring in those courses, but we've not seen a high demand in those courses either. But for the most part, we cover most of the math courses. Same with like the chemistry, we go into organic and inorganic chemistry. Same with the biology, some of the upper level biology classes. Once you get in the 300-400 level, we don't have as much tutoring available in those. But always request, and we do our best to match you with a tutor for a class. So thank you for asking.
Thank you. Okay, so any updates on sororities?
Okay, I guess I'll try to take a stab at that one. So our Greek community right now, the good thing about WVU is we are a deferred recruitment. We do have a deferred recruitment model, and so our traditional recruitment period is actually in the spring. And so right now, students actually need at least 12 earned credit hours from WVU with a 2.75 GPA in order to go through recruitment, which is technically in the springtime. So as of right now, our sororities and our fraternities here on campus will be hosting interest sessions and Ask Us Anything sessions during the fall semester. And so those will be hosted by our Panhellenic Council and our IFC and our MPHC organizations on campus. And so feel free to follow their social media. Our Greek Life office has now been renamed the Center for Fraternal Values and Leadership. And so feel free to check them out on social media. They'll be posting lots of great things about their recruitment and kind of their informationals throughout the semester. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our son is in the Wind Symphony. Will parents be permitted to attend concerts? I will say, from what I understand, a lot of performances will not be open to the public, but of course that will really be decisions that are made later this semester that are made through actually the College of Creative Arts. Next question. If the school were to shut down, would we have to move everything out? Well, honestly, Erin, we're really not gonna worry about that just yet. We're gonna all stay as positive as possible. In the spring, we had a method where students, it happened much quicker and students went on home and came in and got their things later. So at this point, if that were to happen, once we have that information, we would absolutely let everybody know. But for right now, we're just going to stay positive and keep moving forward and hope that we're all here all through Thanksgiving. And Hillary, are any freshman traditions going to occur? Well, anybody else want to jump in here? I think I know what you're referring to, some of the activities we've done during Welcome Week, but Nathan, what would you like to add?
Yeah, so and I think that, you know, sadly, some of the really fun, big things that we typically do to welcome our students in, like what we call Monday Night Lights, when everybody packs into the stadium, sees the marching band, or Food Fest and Fall Fest, which are these big festivals that would be, well, literally happening tomorrow if we were on a normal schedule. They're obviously not going to happen that way at this point. Now, I have heard Dean Ferris reference that if we get the chance later, then we'll sort of make it up to this class and maybe do something special for them when it's safe to do so. And I take that to mean that some of those things are what they're looking at. I guess the other way I'd answer that is by saying, I think some of the small things that are traditions for our students are still actively happening. So throughout the past week, numerous students have taken advantage of this variety of small group activities that we also program every year as part of Welcome Week. And so every year students bond over doing things like service projects, which they've been doing this past week, over doing small group adventure activities, which they've also been doing. And certainly all the traditions that come with moving into a residence hall, meeting floor mates. I've seen one of the fun things to me this past week, although, you know, it feels very different on campus. I've seen lots of small groups of students just exploring campus together, checking out all the different buildings, you know, the different, you know, walkways and green spaces around campus. And it's been really encouraging for me to see them meeting up with random strangers who are part of this freshman class experience and leaving as friends. And so in that regards, I really believe those traditions will always find daylight and find a way to happen as they are right now. And I do look forward to hopefully seeing this freshman class gather for a giant festival or giant experience on the fields sometime when it's safe to do so.
Thank you. So from Lisa's iPad, is it still a recommendation that when students return for Thanksgiving, they stay home and finish out reading week and finals before returning break? So really, when classes end and students go home that week of Thanksgiving, they will not return to campus until January. It is actually the day after the Martin Luther King holiday, which I believe is January 19th. That would be the first day back for classes. So students will go home for Thanksgiving and not return until January for that spring semester. So let's see what else. Okay, we have one more question here. Can you address buses, lower capacity, and there are more buses safe to haul our students? I will tell you, and then I'll let anybody else jump in, that we are running 30 to 40 more buses than we typically have on campus. And we are using not only WVU buses, but we've contracted out to other buses in the local area. And they are running roughly every 6 minutes from looping from downtown to Evansdale, Evansdale back to downtown. You can find that on the transportation website. The buses are absolutely at a lower capacity, which is why we've added so many more than we would typically have. And for a lot of students, since we do have activities on each campus, they won't need to travel as often or to do anything downtown if they're already on Evansdale, or come to Evansdale if they're already downtown. Anybody else want to add anything? Did I miss anything?
I'll just say, I see there's sort of a second question about the current capacity. So I think that the transportation services is ramping that up as we get into classes. So if there haven't been a bunch of buses running over the course of this week and weekend, that's because we're still bringing students onto campus. At the Coliseum, if you would drive by it right now, which is the parking lot near Evansdale campus, there's just stacks of buses waiting for tomorrow morning and waiting for Wednesday morning. And so I know that their plan is to bring in more buses as needed as the classes start up. So I believe that they are adding that capacity.
Yes, and I should have said anything that happened last week can't really be counted for what will happen this week, because starting today is when we had way more buses on campus, because of course students have just finished moving in. All right, so okay, so in the earlier conversation about traditions, does that include WVU up all night and freshmen going to the stadium to learn the football traditions? So
yeah, so Up All Night is happening, and actually has happened the last 2 weekends, which is really fun to see students come out and engage. It's definitely looking different. So typically Up All Night is an event that happens in the mountain layer. This year it's going to be happening both in the mountain layer as well as in the Evansdale residential complex. So there's 2 locations, like Lisa said, that alleviates the need for students necessarily to travel downtown or vice versa. And in regards to going to the stadium, at this point, that is not part of the plan. And so again, that's one of those things that we would hope to have students be able to do later on as we're able to safely do so.
thank you. Okay, well, let's see, I think that we have addressed all the questions, and so we'll wrap it up for now and let you all get back to your evening a little earlier. As you can see, our Parents Club information is up there. Please reach out to us anytime. Any questions that you have, you can email us, you can call that helpline number, you can reach us through Facebook. We do have currently, you might be a member of the official families of the class of WVU 2024. That page will eventually go away and be replaced with the page right here, the official families of WVU students. That's where all families can kind of share information and talk back and forth. So if you're not already on that Facebook page, please join it and let us know if you need anything else. We are all happy to help. All of us can be reached through WVU, and if you can't find somebody that you'd like to, just go ahead and email the Parents Club and we will connect you with our panelists so that you can reach out to them later. This has been our first conversation with the Mountaineer Parents Club. And so first, thank you to the panelists for joining us. We really appreciate all of you. And parents, thank you for joining us. We weren't sure how it would go tonight, and I think it was a success. So thank you very much. And we will be doing this again next month with new topics. I think we have that slide here that'll pop up. But our next topic will be Caruth Center, more on tutoring, and the care team. So if you all want to mark your calendars for September 22nd and tell all of your friends, you can join us then for another conversation with the Mountaineer Parents Club. And so for now, we will say goodnight and thank you very much.
Mountaineers go first, and so should you. See how we are leaving our impression on the world by hitting the subscribe button and following us on social media. So let's go.